What is up, guys? RSD6414 here, back with another video. This time I'm reviewing WWE Friday Night SmackDown. I watched it on TV, but I also went to these SmackDown tapings Tuesday night. Had a good time. It was fun, well worth the money. I did catch a little glimpse of myself on TV tonight, but I'm going to go ahead and get to the results. So the first thing we have, in person it was better than on TV. Obviously, that's what it generally is. But overall, the show was alright. Just an average SmackDown in my opinion, but in person it was really good. So let me just make that real clear before I review. Yeah, let's go ahead and get to the results and me reviewing. So the first match we have, or the first thing we have, is CM Punk comes out. He says that he took out Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman's in the hospital. That he's got his focus set on the Wyatt family for taking him out. So he's calling out the Wyatt family right now. Curtis Axel comes out, interrupts him. He says, "This isn't over between me, you, and Paul. I'm gonna do this because what you did to Paul wasn't right," or something like that is what Axel told Punk. Walking down the ramp, he says, "Heyman's in a hospital in Europe, and I'm coming down here to take you on right now." So Punk says, "Alright, bring it on." They go at it. Pretty good match. We have seen this obviously numerous times already, but still pretty good. Back and forth action. At one point you had they were going at it outside ringside, throwing each other into barricades. At another spot, you had Punk go through all his basically finishing or signature move set. He was going up on the top rope, going for the flying elbow, and all of a sudden the Wyatt family's music hits, the lights go out, and then they come back on, and nothing happens. No one's there. Punk's getting ready. He's got his back turned. By this time, he's off the rope. He's ready for action. The Wyatt family, nobody appears. Axel hits him from behind, sets up with a perfect plex for a near fall. Then he goes for the Hangman's facebuster. CM Punk counters, hits him with the GTS, and Punk pins Axel for the 1-2-3, picks up the win via the GTS. After he counters the Hangman's facebuster, Punk picks up the win. No surprise, Punk won. It was a good match, I thought. Probably one of the better ones of the show. And yeah, so that was a good match, decent match there, even though we've seen it numerous times already. The next thing we have is a six-man tag match. The Usos, Jimmy and Jay, and R-Truth versus 3MB. We're a three-man band. Just had to throw that in there. Like their song. This match was whatever, to be honest. You knew who was going to win going in. 3MB is just a jobbing tag team, for those of you who don't know. Most of you probably do if you're watching this, but it was obvious who was going to win going in. Back and forth. This match lasted, I don't know, probably 5 minutes at most. It was back and forth. Surprisingly, 3MB got more offense in than usual, to be honest. At one point, you had Mahal get tagged in, and R-Truth. At one point, you had R-Truth get tagged in. He got the hot tag, took everybody out. R-Truth is hometown at the tapings in Charlotte, North Carolina. If those of you don't know, that's where R-Truth's from, Charlotte, North Carolina. In his hometown, SmackDown tapings got a big pop tonight, and or Tuesday when they taped it. But he got a big pop when he got tagged in, cleaned house, spinning kick, and then he set up. Then was McIntyre and Slater on the outside of the ring. The Usos went for the suicide dive, took out McIntyre and Slater on the outside. Mahal went for a move. R-Truth countered, hits R-Truth hits the what's up or the reverse, or the STO, I should say, the jumping reverse STO on Jinder Mahal, aka what they call it. What's up? Truth pins Mahal for the 1, 2, 3, and R-Truth and the Usos pick up the win over 3MB in a whatever match. I enjoyed it just because R-Truth was one of my favorites, but it was kind of predictable who was going to win, but it was kind of exciting, I guess. The next match we had AJ Lee and Tamina versus the Funkadactyls. This match, AJ and Tamina did well. Funkadactyls, on the other hand, in person, looked like they botched a few moves. Was not the best match in person. On TV, it looks like you could kind of still some botching, but not as much. At one point, you had Tamina hit a big old clothesline on the outside of the ring. Then you had Naomi. She hit it on Naomi. Towards the end of the match, you had at one point Cameron hit a splash on AJ, which was completely botched, which was, to be honest, it was a little hard to watch. Right after that, I mean, towards the end of the match, you had Cameron get power bombed by Tamina. That's a near fall. Then she hits her with a big boot. AJ Lee gets tacked in. I mean, Tamina, after she hits Naomi with a big boot, then she tags in AJ Lee, and AJ Lee puts Cameron, who was tagged in after the big boot. She gets put in the Black Widow. Cameron taps. AJ Lee picks up the win, and AJ Lee and Tamina pick up the win via the Black Widow by AJ, and making Cameron tap out in the worst match of the night, in my opinion. But yeah. Next thing we have, Alberto Del Rio makes his way to the ring. My man Alberto Del Rio equals greatness. I know a lot of people hate him, but you know, whatever. I like him a lot, so it's my opinion. And yeah. So Del Rio, thought I'd just add that in there for a sec. Del Rio makes his way to the ring. He says that John Cena basically cuts a heel promo saying John Cena stole the title from him. He says, Del Rio says he was sick and that he wasn't well and he had something wrong with his back and that's why he lost the title. Cena comes out, says a bunch of smart ass remarks like he always does with those jokes, and that was basically that. Cena says, let's have our World Heavyweight Championship rematch right now. It's SmackDown. That got a big pop. I was on my feet. Vicky Guerrero comes out. Excuse me. Oh, God. Please save us. She comes out, says that that Del Rio and Cena can't make matches without confronting her first. She's the boss, and she's got matches. Cena says Vicky Guerrero has diarrhea of the mouth and she needs to shut up. Del Rio agrees. For the first time, he says he agrees with Juanito, talking about John. She says, all right, if you guys are going to be smart, here's your opponent tonight. Del Rio, you will face a monster. John Cena, you'll face the monster Ryback tonight in the main event. And Del Rio, you will face this man. Great Khali comes out, so we go to commercial. Then we have Alberto Del Rio versus the Great Khali. This match wasn't very good, to be honest. I'm a big Del Rio fan, but Great Khali's matches, obviously, most of us know they're not the best matches. They've never been like 5 stars by any means. This was back and forth for a while. It's probably 6 or 7 minutes. I thought it lasted. At one point, you had Del Rio had in the cross arm breaker on the ropes of Khali. Khali slammed Del Rio on the ring apron. Towards the end of the match, you had Del Rio hit him with a kick. Then he goes on a roll. Del Rio hits Khali with an enziguri, and doesn't really connect on the neck. He kind of hits him on his arm part right here, but what do you expect when you've got that giant Khali in the rings? So after he hits the enziguri on Khali, he locks in the cross arm breaker on Khali. Khali ends up tapping. Alberto Del Rio picks up the win via cross arm breaker. So I was glad to see Del Rio win live. That was pretty cool. The next match we have Daniel Bryan versus Luke Harper with Bray Wyatt and Eric Rowan. I thought this match was pretty good. I enjoyed it. The ending, not as much, but I did enjoy it throughout the match. Back and forth most of the match. Both guys, neither one dominated more than the other, I would say. Um, at one point, you had Luke Harper threw Daniel Bryan pretty hard into the barricade. Then you had Daniel Bryan connects with a running lariat. Then Daniel hits him with all those kicks that he always does, setting up for his finishing maneuvers. He goes for a roundhouse kick. Daniel Bryan does. Luke Harper catches him, picks him up, and then power bombs Daniel Bryan pretty dang hard on the mat, if I should say so myself. Pins him for the 1, 2, kicks out. Daniel Bryan kicks out. Then Daniel Bryan locks in the yes lock out of nowhere, basically, like a couple seconds later, I'd say. Maybe like 20 seconds later, he all of a sudden locks in the yes lock out of nowhere. Eric Rowan gets in the ring, interferes, breaks up the yes lock. The referee rings the bell. Daniel Bryan wins via disqualification. So the match didn't have a finish that way, so that's why I didn't really like the ending, but it's a good way to end it since you got a heel getting the Wyatt family over. They were attacking Daniel Bryan. Eric Rowan and Harper were attacking him in the ring. Just as Bray Wyatt was getting on the ring apron, about to do his Sister Abigail, to enter the ring and about to do his Sister Abigail on Bryan, CM Punk comes running down the entrance ramp. He's getting a big pop by the crowd. He comes in, clears the ring with Harper and Rowan, and then Daniel Bryan and CM Punk stare down Bray Wyatt, who eventually gets off the apron with his maniacal, creepy laugh. And that's basically the ending of that. So good kind of segment at the end, and a good match for the most part to kind of get the Wyatt family over a little bit, and then get Daniel Bryan and CM Punk, the baby faces, over as well. So I enjoyed that. Then we had the main event, John Cena versus Ryback. To be honest, this match was pretty good. I was not expecting a whole lot. In this past, we've seen like tables matches that weren't very good on Raw, and then we saw their match at Payback that was just whatever. 3 stages and wasn't as good as Extreme Rules. But Ryback's put on some good matches. John Cena always puts on decent matches, even though I'm not a fan of his. But it seems like the way they always book him, obviously, for those of you who are diehard fans like myself, he's just Super Cena that just bounces back at the end. This was how it was the case again. Ryback was beating Cena up most of the match, just showing his strength, working on Cena. Some clotheslines, Irish whip, back and forth across the ring. At one point, Ryback reversed the attitude adjustment on Cena, hit him with a spine buster. That was for a near fall. Ryback went for a meat hook clothesline at one point at the match. Cena counters, puts him in the STF. That was kind of edge of your seat moment. Is Ryback going to tap? Ryback eventually got the rope break, so Cena had to break the submission hold. Then Ryback hits a spear. As much as he doesn't want to look like Goldberg, signs of Goldberg there. Ryback hit a spear on Cena. That went for a near fall. Then you had, towards the end of the match, Ryback hits the meat hook clothesline on Cena. He's going for the shell shock. He's stomping up and down, marching in the ring with Cena on top. Cena counters, hits Ryback with the AA, the attitude adjustment, pins Ryback for the 1, 2, 3, and John Cena picks up the win via AA or attitude adjustment. And a pretty good match. I enjoyed it. I got about 15 minutes, so I thought it was a good match. So, good main event match, even though we've seen it a lot. It's same with the Axel and Punk. We've seen that a lot as well. But even though we've seen a repeat, still some good matches. Overall grade, I got to give SmackDown 5.5 out of 10. Pretty good show. Decent. Just sort of like your average SmackDown. So yeah, 5.5 out of 10. It's the overall grade I give SmackDown. Hope you enjoyed my video. Check out my other videos and subscribe. Thanks guys. RC6414 out.